I've missed you so much.
Megan, what are you doing?
You don't look like my grandma.
She's not your grandma.
I'm so lonely.
Baby, please just...
Maybe I can come in?
Megan, no!
In an enclosed small town, Sheriff Boyd rings the bell to ensure that his people go back into their homes for the night. It turns out that every night, murderous and bloodthirsty monsters come out and kill anyone who's outside or has their windows or doors open. That night, after the sheriff had rung the bell, Frank refuses to go home because he is drunk. At his house, a monster approaches the window of his home, and his daughter Megan opens the window, allowing the creatures to kill her and her mother. Sometime later, the Matthews family, consisting of the mother Tabitha, the father Jim, and their kids Julie and Ethan, are driving in their RV, but instead of reaching their destination, they end up in the town. Sheriff Boyd tells them to keep going, but they soon realize that they are driving in circles and always end up in the town, when they then crash into another car, which has two guys in it, Toby and Jade. Ethan has become injured and is unable to move. With the townspeople having arrived to help them, Boyd decides that he and Nurse Christy will spend the night in the RV with Ethan and Jim, while Tabitha and Julie follow the other villagers to the colony house. When the night approaches, an injured Toby is killed by Sarah, one of the nurses in the clinic, while the creatures stalk the RV in the hopes of getting in. At the colony house, their leader, Donna, explains to the newcomers the reality of the town, while Boyd does the same in the RV, that they are stuck in the town due to a physical loop, and that in the night, the humanoid creatures stalk and kill them. However, by putting up mysterious talismans, they have managed to keep them away. Back at the RV, the monsters want to get in, but Boyd uses a talisman to keep them out, while Christy is treating Ethan. After having killed Toby due to voices in her head, Sarah leaves the clinic doors open and allows the creatures to cause a carnage inside. The following day, Kenny, the deputy sheriff, takes Tabitha and Julie to their RV, and they hug their family. When Kenny then goes to visit his grandfather in the clinic, he is horrified to discover the remains of last night's victims. The Matthews family is then taken into the colony house, where Ethan sees a mysterious boy in white clothing outside. Feeling guilty for what she has done, Sarah confides in her brother Nathan and tells him how she had let the creatures into the clinic, due to the voices in her head. Having been unconscious for the last 2 days, Jade eventually wakes up at the colony house and is informed of the situation. With the only punishment available in town, Boyd is forced to put Frank in the box for not protecting his family. However, not willing to kill Frank, Boyd tells him to live in exile outside of the town. Meanwhile, the Matthews family are taken around the town by Father Catry to find a place to live. They can either choose the town, where every family has their own home, or the colony house, where everybody lives together in the giant mansion. At the choosing ceremony, Julie chooses to stay at the colony house, while the other family members decide to stay in the town. Frank then interrupts the ceremony and tells everyone that he accepts his punishment in the box. When night comes, Frank is indeed left in the box outside and waits for the nocturnal monsters to come. And come, they do, tearing him into pieces from all sides. Victor, the first man to get stuck in the town, recalls his experience of the first day he got there, and remembered he also saw the boy in white clothing. He shows Ethan a drawing made by him of the boy, and then takes Ethan with him to find the mysterious child. After Kenny has convinced Jade about their new reality, Jade, who had his own tech startup, steals a radio at the sheriff's office. In the woods, Victor shows Ethan a strange tree with a hole in it. He demonstrates to him that after throwing a rock in the tree, the rock is transported to somewhere else entirely. Meanwhile, Ethan's parents start looking for him and finally locate him with Victor. Jim then warns Victor to stay away from his son. Back in the town, Boyd takes the Matthews family to the diner. While serving in the diner, Sarah is told by the voices in her head to kill Ethan. But before she can carry it out, she collapses. Sarah is taken to the hospital, where Christy attends to her and they spend the night together. Meanwhile, Boyd visits his wife's grave and tells her about the tremors in his hands, just like his late father. But he also tells her that he has an idea that may allow everyone to escape the town. The following day, while planning to kill Ethan, Sarah locks Tabitha in the barn. However, when her elder brother Nathan comes to stop her, she slits his neck with a knife. Ethan then runs away and stumbles onto his sister Julie, while Jim frees Tabitha from the barn. Being exposed for what she really is, Sarah has seemingly ran away. After the chapel service, Tabitha asks Father Catry if he is sure they aren't all dead. Father Catry says even if they are dead, it doesn't change the fact that they are stuck. Upon getting home, Tabitha meets her husband and starts wondering where the wires in the lamp lead to. Jade then visits them and asks for Jim's help so he can build a radio tower to find a signal. Having realized that he has Parkinson's, Boyd tells Kenny that he plans to go into the forest with a talisman to try to find a way out, with Kenny absolutely disagreeing with his plan. It is then shown that Catry has Sarah locked in his basement. He tells her that the Bible has 73 books, and he thinks their experience in the town makes up the 74th book. The voices then speak to Sarah again, telling her about a bag Catry buried the first day he got there. Unable to explain how she knew, Catry believes that the voices Sarah hears are real. While trying to get a radio signal, Jade receives hallucinations of soldiers chasing him and runs away from Jim. When they finally do get a signal from the radio, it turns out to be static. At the diner, Jade draws a picture of what he sees, with Tian Chen, Kenny's mother recognizing it and showing him a book with similar images. Upon getting home, Jim sees Tabitha trying to dig out the source of the electricity wires in their house, while one of the residents of the colony house, Kevin, is trying to form a romantic relationship with one of the creatures. Finally, Catry visits Boyd and tells him about Sarah, and that he and Sarah need to accompany Boyd on his mission. Later that night at the colony house, they are celebrating Fatima's anniversary at the house. However, upstairs, Kevin's monster crush convinces him to open the window because she wants to be with him physically. Moments after letting her in, Kevin is brutally murdered by her, and she then has her fellow monsters come inside for the meal of their life. The residents of the colony house are then butchered, with some managing to escape. Victor and Julie escape together in the woods, while Ellis, who is Boyd's son, and Fatima hang up a talisman in part of the house in order to be protected. In the woods, Victor has Julie jump into the faraway tree while he mysteriously vanishes. Meanwhile, Donna and some other survivors manage to hop on their escape van and make it to the town. Seeing the van, Boyd and Catry rush outside to help them, but just when he turns, Catry is killed by one of the monsters, while the others quickly flee indoors. Through a flashback, Boyd remembers the first day he got into the town, together with his wife Abby and son Ellis. They found themselves stuck in the town and guided by Father Catry, with each night several people being killed by the creatures because they were poorly protected. However, when one day Boyd got lost in the woods, he hid in a cave during the night. It is there where he found the mysterious talisman that now wards off the monsters. When he returned to the town the following day, he found his wife killing the townspeople because she believed it not to be real. When Abby was then about to shoot their son Ellis, Boyd killed her to save him, causing the estrangement between him and Ellis. Back in the present, Boyd prepares for his journey into the woods with Sarah. after having promoted Kenny as the new sheriff. During a town meeting, Jim asks the townspeople to find devices with a charge so they can build a proper radio and contact the outside world. The next day, the townspeople continue to strip the colony house for materials to use in the town and build the radio. In order to make the radio work, Jade and Tian Chen believe they can use the electricity in the houses to power it. Meanwhile, Boyd and Sarah start their journey and find out that people have been stuck in the town as far back as 1864. Sarah then reveals to him that a new female voice has told her that they need to go back, since there are worse things than the monsters in these woods. At the Matthews home, Tabitha continues digging in the basement in hopes of finding the source of the wires, and finally hits the bottom. While spending the night in their tent, Boyd and Sarah are attacked by something. When the attack ends, they hear a loud horn in the distance, while their tent is lit up by a large beam of light from somewhere. Following their last night's encounter, Boyd and Sarah come out of their tent and find themselves in spider webs. Boyd hears a call for help, which he deduces to be his wife. But when he goes nearer, it turns out to be a hallucination, and he is bit by spiders. At the village, Jade figures out how to get power for the radio. And together with the townspeople, they build a radio tower on top of the colony house. Poisoned by the spiders, Boyd is becoming increasingly weak, but Sarah encourages him to keep going. When they then reach a hill, they discover a mysterious lighthouse, the source of the loud horn and the beam of light. The villagers, meanwhile, finally get a signal from the radio tower, and Jim calls for help. However, the receiver calls his name and tells him that his wife shouldn't be digging in the basement. Scared by this reveal, Jim rushes home to Tabitha, but before he can reach her, she falls down the hole she had been digging all this while. Having fallen into an underground tunnel of some sort, Tabitha is surprised when she sees Victor there. He explains to her that they should be careful, since this is where the monsters sleep during the day. Back at the hill, the boy in white guides Sarah to the faraway tree. Carrying a weakened Boyd with her, Sarah pushes him into the tree for safety, and he gets transported into a very narrow well of some sorts. With all this going on, an unwary bus, probably full of people, drives into the village and stops in front of the diner.
Yeah.